You know when sometimes you just have one of those really good reading weeks and you just feel so happy afterwards? Yeah, that's me this week. Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my weekly wrap up for the week of the 16th to the 22nd of July. This week I read 6 books. 4 of those were regular sized novels. 1 was a novella, 1 was a short story, and I loved all of them. 4 of them were written by Australian authors, which just makes me so super happy to be getting in more reading by Aussie authors. Altogether, I read a total of 1,378 pages, and my yearly reading total is up to 151 books, I think. Yes, no, I tipped over into 151 with the last book last night. Without further ado, here is my reading wrap up. The first book that I read this week was Tomorrow When the War Began by John Marsden. This is a very classic Australian young adult novel. It was first released in 1993, so this is definitely a backlist title for those of you who are interested. It is about a group of teenagers who in their summer holidays over Christmas decide to go camping, but when they return back to their home, which is a small town, they discover that not everything as it seems and that Australia has been invaded by an unnamed force. This group of teenagers have to learn how to survive and have to learn how to deal with everything that has changed, as well as the relationships and the dynamics of the group. I first read this book when I was in year 6, so that was nearly 20 years ago, and I absolutely adored rereading it and just getting back into it because it is such a well-known Australian book. Ultimately, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire, and this is sort of the prequel companion book to Every Heart a Doorway. This particular story follows Jack and Jill from the time when they first travel through their doorway into their mysterious world. What I really loved about this was how it really shows how parents can influence children in really negative ways. From before they were even born, Jack and Jill, or Jacqueline and Gillian as their parents refer to them because they're not allowed to have nicknames, Jacqueline and Gillian were typecast by their parents, one being considered particularly girly and always having to wear dresses and not allowed to get dirty and having to be prim and proper, and one who was shaped into being a tomboy, the son that they didn't have. As the girls get older, these stereotypes begin to grate on them, and that's what causes their door to open, and then in their new world they are forced to make decisions, and these decisions impact both on their relationship and the relationship of the people around them. I really loved this. This was really dark, and this particular series of stories, I love portal door stories, but this and Every Heart a Doorway just really go into the background of why these doors might even exist, and I really loved it. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read a short story by Alison Evans called Long Macchiatos and Monsters, and this is the story of Jalen and P, who meet in a cafe and bond over long macchiatos and B-grade science fiction movies, so what could possibly go wrong? Ultimately, this story explores what it means to be in a relationship. There is insight into the backgrounds of both these characters. Both characters, Jalen and P, are genderqueer. The stories also own voices, which is wonderful, and it was just sweet and awkward and really, really lovely, and I really adored this, and I'm really excited to pick up some of Alison Evans' other work as well. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Then I read One Would Think the Deep by Claire Zorn, which again is one of the shortlisted books for the older readers category of the Children's Book Council Awards of Australia this year. This one was interesting for me. I'm going to, right off the bat, I'm going to say I'm not the right market for surfer type books, and this is what this is. So surfer culture and I, not 100%, but this was still a really engaging story, and it was really heartbreaking because it's about Sam, whose mother has literally just died in his arms. She's died of a brain aneurysm, and he's sent to live with his aunt, who was estranged from his mother, and his 2 cousins. His older cousin Shane has never really liked him, and his younger cousin Minty absolutely adores him like a brother. They're about the same age, and Minty is on the road to becoming a pro surfer, and he takes Sam under his wing, and Sam begins to become immersed in Minty's world. Sam also has a past which is slowly revealed and that he's ashamed of, but he doesn't know how to deal with it, and you know, he's been through a lot in his life, and it's really tricky for him to cope with the death of his mother and to cope with being in a new place, to have to make new friendships and relationships, even though he doesn't even really know how to do that. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Risk by Fleur Ferris. Fleur Ferris is the author of Wreck, which I read a couple of weeks ago, and I decided to pick up her other 2 books. Taylor has always had a bit of a tumultuous relationship with her best friend Sierra, and when Sierra is banned from using technology by her parents because of some inappropriate behaviour, she uses Taylor's devices to connect with a guy online. Initially, both Taylor and Sierra are talking to this same person, and he seems to be a cute, hot, very nice young man. And Taylor begins to fall for him, but unbeknownst to her, Sierra has already made plans to meet up with him at the end of the next week. Sierra asks Taylor and her friends to cover for her as she goes off to meet this guy in the city without anyone, and reluctantly they agree. When Sierra doesn't come back when she says she will, things start to happen and days pass, and ultimately her friends begin to realise that something isn't quite right, and they notify her parents and then the police. This is a book that every teenager should read because it is really about the danger of what it means to be online. It's one thing for adults to talk to other adults online because you come from it with a background and understanding that, you know, not everyone that you talk to is going to tell you the truth. We know that intrinsically. But teenagers, that's not something in their nature. It's also something that parents should read because it really frightens me as a teacher. I don't teach teenagers, I teach younger children. But it frightens me the number of children who say that they're allowed to use technology and devices unsupervised. In a school, it would be unforgivable for us to let a child use any sort of technology without an adult being present in the room. And particularly for young children, particularly for young impressionable teenagers, they really need to be using things in the presence of an adult. They don't have to be hovering over them, obviously, but it does need to be something that is monitored, because when something like this happens, and the events in this are really confronting, when something like this happens, you need to know that you have grown-ups around you to support you and to be able to talk honestly and openly about it without being embarrassed. And at the moment, I think there's this sort of bubble where you can't tell your parents what's going on. That's enough of my little high horse. But, you know, this is something that is real. It happens in real life. It is terrifying and frightening, and you don't think it can happen to you, but it could happen to anyone, and that's the message that this sends. So I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. Definitely recommend it to teenagers and their parents. And the last book I read this week was also by Fleur Ferris. It is Black, which is the 3rd of her novels. This one I think is my favourite of her novels. This story takes place in a small town, and it follows Ebony Marshall, or Black as she's known because of her name, and she's had a really bad string of luck. 3 of her best friends have previously died due to unforeseen accidents, and there are a few people in town who whisper that she is cursed and that anyone she becomes close to dies, and as a result, obviously, she becomes quite estranged from a lot of the kids in the school that she used to be friends with before. There is a particular group, the 4As, girls who are still friendly with her, but even their parents have some hesitation in letting the girls spend time with her. Black has gotten on pretty well in her life. She works at her father's water plant and works alongside his employee Ed, and is reasonably happy knowing that eventually she's going to move away from the town. Then she meets Aiden, who is a new boy at school, and he's dead to ask her out to the school formal. To stick it to the guys that put him up to the prank, she agrees, and eventually discovers that Aiden is a really nice guy and she really enjoys his company. They make plans to go to the formal, but on the night of the formal, Aiden has an accident at home, but he's picked her up, they go to the formal, they have a great time, he drops her off, and when she turns back to just watch him leave, she realises that he's collapsed in the street. Obviously, this sets the rumour mill in this small town off again, and she finds herself embroiled in this sort of mystery and trying to work out if she's actually cursed or if something more sinister is going on in this town. This has all of the elements of a thriller that I really love reading in adult thrillers. It is not a paranormal, it is purely a thriller, and it is about how people are so easily swayed by their beliefs and by what they think is real, and I absolutely adored that about this. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend this one. These are my books for this week. I absolutely adored all of them. Fleur Ferris, please come out with new books so that I can read them because I'm loving everything that you're doing. When this video goes up, it will be Booktubeathon, and I am considering filming a vlog type wrap up rather than just doing a normal wrap up like this where I stand in front of you and hold up the books. I'd I'm thinking I'd rather do just I've read this book, checked in with you guys and kept going. If you would like that, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, just tell me, just do your normal wrap up and I'm happy to do that as well. In the comments, let me know if you are participating in Booktubeathon or what book you are looking forward to getting to this coming week. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.